Well, hello, guys. I hope you're enjoying your time in the book of Acts. This is just a recap and to do part number 3. In part number 1, we saw that chapters 1 through 7 in the book of Acts can be remembered by the acrostic ascends. And that takes us through chapters 1 through 7, the ascension, the spirit, cure, embezzlement, night release, deacons, and Stephen. We then see in chapters 8 through 10, 4 P's will help us remember what's going on in the book of Acts in this point. You have persecution. Persecution is breaking out for the church, and so this causes many disciples, not the apostles, but many disciples, to leave Jerusalem. And then we have Philip's preaching. We have Paul's conversion in chapter 9, and then Peter's vision in chapter 10. So, there's a handout here that I'm attaching to this file and these files. So, what we've just talked about is the establishment of the church, the extension of the church, and then this next one, part number 3, the expansion of the church. And so that's this back portion here. So, just by way of helping you remember what you either have read or are about to read, part number 3, the rest of the book of Acts is focused on the life of Paul, the apostle, the great missionary. And this great missionary takes at least 3 missionary journeys, and we've labeled them as first missionary journey, second missionary journey, third missionary journey. And as you're reading the book of Acts, it goes through this chronologically, which is really nice and helpful. So here's a way to help you remember that. So question number 12, that's the first missionary journey. He takes 2 years to do this. And so remember, he's traveling by boat, walking a lot, perhaps riding a donkey or a camel, or most likely a donkey. But he's doing lots of traveling on very, well, let's just say unpaved roads in the ancient world. And he's mostly going to Galatia, which he writes a book to eventually. Next, number 13 is Jerusalem Council. The question is law. Should Christians be required to follow the law, the Old Testament law? And the answer is no. And we'll see in other books how certain Jewish people are trying to bring that back. And even in the church today, in some churches, there's a push to go back to some of these law type things. But Acts chapter 15, the Jerusalem Council, the first council of the church in general, has made a statement, no, we are not required to follow the law. Number 14, second missionary journey is 3 years long, and he goes to Macedonia, Achaia, and Greece. So he's going further away from Jerusalem and in larger areas and taking a longer period of time. 3 years he does this missionary journey, and after each journey he always visits Jerusalem to give a report to the churches. Next one, we have third missionary journey. This takes 4 years, and he's doing this in Asia. Number 16, trials. He is then arrested and put on trial, and this is in Caesarea Maritime, a coastal city in Israel. And he's on trial before 3 people, Felix, Festus, and Agrippa, and you'll read about those people. And he's put on trial, and eventually he says that he has the right as a Roman citizen to appeal his case before Caesar himself. And so Paul uses the opportunity to give that charge. He's always been wanting to go to Rome. He knows that there's a church there, but he also wants to share the gospel with as many people as he can, and he'd love to share the gospel with the emperor himself. So the last part of this is imprisonment. He's shipwrecked and imprisoned, and we see that he's imprisoned for 3 years. And I'm giving you some space if you want to write some of the extra things that are going on in his life. So, the Acts of the Apostles, some of the Acts of some of the Apostles. We definitely see what Peter is doing in here. We see what Paul is doing in here, and just very little bit about what some of the other people are. So, I hope that you enjoy this book. I hope that this handout front page and back page will be a helpful resource for you. One of the great things about doing this is that after you've completed reading it, you can see this outline, and it really helps you remember what you've already read and to be able to reference to go back to specific things that you're thinking about. Okay, hope you enjoy it.